Educators may like to use some of the existing resources that they already use in their service. Things like connecting with BU, things like connecting with their peak bodies, things like connecting with their existing networks are all really important ways for them to feel connected and a part of the sector. So critical things to remember are finding the time and space. There needs to be a private space, it needs to be confidential. You need to be mindful that that person may not be ready to hear that information because they're trying to cope and feeling like they're coming to work and coping. And if the others around them notice that they're not, that could be a bit confronting. So think really carefully about how you would have that conversation in a sensitive way and have the resources at your fingertips to refer somebody to. Don't forget that we aren't positioned to answer all of the questions and to solve all of the problems like a psychologist, but we can certainly be the helping hand there and direct people to their GP, Lifeline and other resources available in the community. Often people are concerned about where their information is coming from. So in the world of social media and fake news, people are often unsure about where can you go to get quality information. So this is where we really suggest that you go back to those core quality services, association, peaks and resources that you engage with, not just for a one-off event, but for actually long-term support. So think about who you have subscriptions with, where you can get support across the board, and really tap into those resources and look beyond for specialised resources as well. Think about the Department of Education websites, CCSA, CELA, ECA. Tap into your local branches because then they can have some really contextualised discussions with you about what's happening in your community. But the most important message is to think that you're not doing this all on your own.
Some of the peak bodies that we used as support network, we were looking for some strategies and some support information for families, and one of the places we went to prior to the fire was Kids Matter, which is now BU, and we found some really great online, just one sheet advice for families. We found that really, really helpful, and we would often just give that to a family, and we also use that within our staff. So we were kind of making sure that our practices aligned and our advice would align with professional advice, I guess. So,
and the other resource, of course, that we used was the Department of Education because we needed to get some information and advice about what we should do, what we could do and things in terms of closing our doors, because we wanted to make sure that we kept our staff and children safe, so we didn't want to be open when there was a fire risk, but we also wanted to be business as usual so that we could have a safe, secure, stable, familiar place where people could come to and get a little bit of relief if things are still really difficult for them.
The resources that we would suggest are the ones from Kids Matter, which is now Beyond Blue or Beyond BU. We found those really helpful, and I know that there's some other resources going around. I know that there's a that might be able to put in the links, but there was a really great flip book, a digital flip book that's around fires, which I found only found it the other day. I think it looks like a really amazing resource. But there were very few when we were going through it. Yeah. It would have been really helpful to have
some lovely resources to tap into.